at working with media.
Great. And just to kick it off, why don't you just tell us really quick kind of your background, how you got into teaching people about PR and reaching out to journalists, and then, what it was like to put this course together.
Sure. I got into this by failing a lot at pitching. I started off as a journalist, crossed the side to PR like a lot of our peers did, and I was terrified of pitching my former colleagues and their peers, especially at bigger newsrooms. And in my stumbling, I found some things that worked. Other companies saw that. They brought me in to train them, and I started a business and a passion around coaching PR people how to get more media placements. That naturally put me in touch with you guys, because that's what you're all about, is arming the PR field with tools that allow them to build effective relationships. And thanks to the vision of your team about offering a free certification on media pitching, here we are talking about it.
Well said. Yeah, that's something we were really excited about. And I think the timing couldn't be more powerful at a time when people can't be going to conferences, and a lot of people are challenging positions in their career where they might have to find something new, or just find a way to sharpen the resume and be more competitive, and also might not have the resources they did before that your courses, which used to be having to rely on a company to pay for, or a paid conference to go to see, now anyone can access for free.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys and make sure that people watching know this. It's free to them, but it wasn't free to you. You guys invested a lot of resources in this. At the same time, you were like scrambling to move your office to home in the epicenter of a worldwide pandemic. You guys hit all of the deadlines. This was our original launch date, and I'm just so impressed with how you kept running the company and put out this new product for the industry at the same time.
Oh, thanks so much. It's been a real blast to work on, and just being our company through all this craziness. It's been a great thing to rally around and know that we have a mission and our customers and our larger community to serve. And I'm just curious, from working with people in PR, it's an interesting profession. Barbers need to be licensed, and yet PR people don't. Lawyers need to be licensed. Nail salons, they need to get a license. So, given that PR people have never had to get a certification before, and I mean, they don't have to, but, why should they, or why should they think about getting education when anyone can just, email a journalist without doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first benefit of taking this course, independent of the credential, is none of us get all the media placements we want, right? So there's always something we can do to sharpen and refine and get more results. And that's my biggest hope and intent in putting this out there, is to help reduce the stress and anxiety of rejection and replace that with more frequently the exhilaration of a winning placement. As far as the credential goes, most of us don't realize that we're stuck in the same habits or ruts because we don't have that insight into what other people do. And we don't realize that a lot of what we do is just because that's how our first boss did it. And when I get brought in by agencies and companies to do training in real life, I can see the light bulbs go off at certain moments around key principles. And that's what I've built into this course for you guys.
Yeah, and what are kind of the bad habits you've seen? Why do companies bring you in? What are they trying to change about the behavior of their their employees, their PR team, and people on the front line talking to journalists?
It varies. I got to work with General Motors, and they said, our problem is not getting coverage. She joked, we measure our coverage by the ton. It's shaping the coverage and the messaging and the direction that we want it to go. So with companies in that sense, I get to work with them on shaping their message, framing their news. We talk about that in the middle of the course here. You guys you'll get access to some of those tips on tying into what journalists consider newsworthy. Other companies are stuck in that working harder mindset, Greg, where they think, oh, we need to send out a certain number of pitches and press releases a month to a certain number of journalists. So they're doing quantity over quality. And so a lot of the way that I've been able to help them is helping them understand the value of targeting, that in many cases, it's not what you pitch, it's who you pitch, and how to use some of the tricks that we talk about to personalize pitches even at scale when you don't have a lot of time to do it.
Yeah. What are you seeing now? We're in such a interesting, I mean, challenging and tragic in many ways, time with COVID-19, but I think it's unlike anything we've seen before in the news. I mean, there are always things that dominate our news cycle, but this, I mean, we even see in our Muck Rack trends analytics, like unprecedented in terms of something that nobody talked about 4 months ago to, more talked about than any other term pretty much. So, how do you have to adjust your pitching? And what if, you have something that you were just planning on launching 2 months ago and now you're in this new media world? What do people need to know?
Yeah, the big question. One of the strongest takeaways that I have for folks is there in any crisis, when there's any emergency, PR teams tend to fall into one of two camps, and both of them are wrong. So one of those is they ignore the emergency and they continue to pitch aggressively. But the other is they full on halt their outreach and wait till it's over or ride it out. And obviously the first one's inappropriate in a crisis of this scale with so much human suffering. The second one is too, though, because this is a slow motion disaster that's going to continue. And the wheels of commerce must continue to turn. You're getting paid to be an advocate through the media for your brand. You need to figure out a way to make that work. So here's a couple tips. It's not what you pitch, it's who you pitch. There are definitely some trade niche vertical media who are still going to be interested in whatever you were going to be launching 2 months ago. You might not just be able to pitch it to the Wall Street Journal like you thought you were hoping to. And then a second takeaway is you have a slimmer margin for error for errors in judgment. Okay. If you had a weak tie to the Super Bowl at the beginning of February and it didn't land, nobody's going to be offended. But if you have a weak tie to COVID-19 and you try to stretch to tie into that, that's when you end up on Muck Rack's blog for this month in bad PR pitches, where journalists are ranting about you on Twitter.
Yeah, and tell us more about that. I mean, we've seen this trend and we've documented in Muck Rack where journalists have always been plagued by bad PR pitches, but now there's this trend on Twitter where the journalists will tweet screenshots of those bad PR pitches. So it's it's got to be terrifying for anyone doing PR, knowing you could end up screenshotted by a journalist on Twitter. But what do you think gave rise to that phenomena of journalists doing this genre of tweet by journalists, and then what in the course is going to help people avoid becoming one of the screenshot victims?
Well, that's
victims.
Yeah, that's a huge purpose of the course, right? Is to help PR pros develop a cadre and network of journalists who view them as trusted sources rather than fodder for their rants. I like to look at the trend of journalists tweeting about PR as a positive, Greg. Their laments have been happening throughout time, ever since Ivy Lee put the first press release up in the early 1900s. I'm sure they've been around the water cooler saying, get a load of this crappy pitch I got, right? Now the Twitter's just reduced the friction and we get to have that feedback in real time. And maybe more importantly, show it to our bosses who pushed us to send that errant pitch, right? I believe that most PR pros who've been doing this for any amount of time knew that pitch was problematic before they sent it out, but they had their back against the wall by a boss. So this provides us with great reference points, and that's how we use it in the course. I've selected some of the most telling and informative tweets that you guys have collected over the past 18 months, and we show those screenshots to illustrate the takeaways that we're leaving.
Very cool. And give us a little more kind of like of an overview. Like if you were advising someone, they go to their boss. I mean, of course it's free. They can take this course whether they want it or not. But they say, hey, I need to take 2 hours in my day to take this Muck Rack course. And their boss is like, well, we've got we've got pitches to send today. We have clients to service. We have KPIs to hit. Why should I give you these 2 hours to take this Muck Rack course?
Can I take a bolder response to that, Greg?
Please.
I'm going to say, as a PR pro, you take responsibility for your own career, your own outcomes, your own capabilities, and you don't need to ask your boss to take this. You can get up 15 minutes early and watch one of the little videos a day for about 3 weeks, and then you'll be set. Thanks to Muck Rack making this free, you don't have to sell it to your boss. You can decide to take your career in your own hands and move forward. And I'll add, we've worked to make this engaging. It shouldn't require effort on your part to pay attention. It's dialed in to help you do one thing and one thing only, and that's end up as a trusted resource for the journalists you want to reach.
And what are what have you found kind of change in the industry? Like, I imagine I think a lot of people coming straight out of school or 1 or 2 years in their career can benefit from this. But then I know that I've heard from a lot of more seasoned executives, there's angst that, the news media has changed and maybe they got to change how they do their job.
Mm-hmm.
What's your message to the person out there who's 10, 20, 30 years into their career on like, how's the PR game changed? How do they need to stay sharp?
Well, first of all, I live and breathe this. This is all I do. And I still learn every week from talking with my clients because there's new developments. And as you noted, changes in the media landscape. So a couple hours over a few weeks is a simple investment, a little tiny investment to make sure that you stay top of the game. That said, you asked earlier, what's a circumstance or use case that people bring me in? One of the most common ones is when brands let go of their agency. They realize that they've let all of their media relationships be held by their agency, and they no longer know how to develop and maintain those relationships. So if that's you, if you're really good at strategy and setting vision, but you're a little bit out of the game when it comes to the media outreach, this is going to be right up your alley. And it's also designed to be relevant across industries, no matter what industry you're in. I've trained folks in all of those industries. We have examples from all of those industries, so it'll be relevant to wherever you're at.
And give us a sense, like if someone's getting into this, they might be having nightmares of college courses where each lesson was an hour long, and they, I always had trouble staying awake in some of my courses. Like, how long are the videos? How's this broken up and structured?
Yeah, well, when you click on the link, you actually can see the title of every video and the timestamp. So they're between 2 and 4 minutes long. I've done online courses in the past, Greg, that are a lot beefier. They cost $800. They're super dense, 5-6 hours. I stand by those for the purpose that they exist. But with this one, I took the challenge where my goal and my team was, we wanted you to think you were going to watch one video, but be so into it, you let it autoplay to go into the next one, like you do when you're watching your favorite shows on Netflix. So you guys watch it and see if we achieve that goal.
The PR certification binging.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Muck Rack and chill. It can be a whole new way of
new hashtag.
learning.
Yeah, let's get started.
Yeah.
In fact, my team, I shared some essentially blackmail photos of me as a dorky teenager with my team, and they talked me into including those in this course to just keep it lively. And we'll see if those don't spread online as well. If people making fun of me, taking advantage of that.
Well said. And what do you recommend people do, like once they complete the course? We're sending out certificates, and that's something they have. Where can they leverage that, or how can they use that to further their careers? Yeah.
Your team's figured out a button that they can put right on their LinkedIn profile, stand out that way. And you noted this when you kicked off our chat, Greg, is that right now and for the foreseeable future, everything's going to be more competitive. So having any kind of certification on your material is going to help you stand out against the competition. There is no other training for media pitching like this available. I know you won't find it anywhere else. And there's certainly no certification specifically for fundamentals of media relations like what you guys are offering. So whoever achieves it, they'll be the only one.
Great. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, Michael, but thanks so much for partnering with us on this. And we're really excited to bring this out to market. I know we've only launched this morning. We've already had hundreds sign up. So it's really exciting to see the uptake, and can't wait to see some people graduate and get out there and put these skills to use.
You are so kind. It's been an honor. And it was a really great partnership for me because I was able to tap into all the incredible research you guys do with your state of journalism reports and state of PR, so that the tips that are shared here, they're not just my experience, but they're backed up by data of what journalists really want. And I'm excited to see the feedback and to interact with your community.
Great. Thanks so much, Michael.
Okay. Take care, Greg.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.